What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Joe Looks. So 2016 was a really weird year all around, but one thing that it did deliver on is it brought us a lot of incredible albums. So I'm going to be guiding you through my personal top 10 albums to come out in 2016. Okay guys, so coming in at the number 10 spot is Passion, Pain and Demon Slaying by Kid Cudi. This was an incredible album for Cudi, and for it to come fresh off the heels of him coming out of rehab for depression and suicidal thoughts makes it even more incredible, because this album was perfect beginning to end. It felt very vintage Kid Cudi. We haven't really heard from him like this in a while, but this felt like Man on the Moon 2. It was like a really vintage feel to what he used to be making, which was really what I wanted, so I love this. The features on here were incredible. You've got like Baptized in Fire featuring Travis Scott. You got Andre 3000 featuring Twice on there as well, with The Guide and By Design, both amazing songs. And then you had like an unexpected couple of features, like the one from Willow Smith. But even the songs without features that was just Kid Cudi were absolutely incredible. You know, it had amazing production in the background. He really delivered on his lyrics. So yeah, from beginning to end, this album was amazing. The only negative thing I have about it is that it's come out too late in the year. So that's the reason it's not as high on my list, is because I've just not had as long to listen to it. There's been so much competition for it. I haven't walked around with it as long as I have the rest of them. So yeah, falling at number 10 is Kid Cudi, Passion, Pain and Demon Slaying, and my standout track off this album was By Design featuring Andre 3000. Coming in at number 9 was Untitled Unmastered by Kendrick Lamar. But this album sort of secured what we know now to expect from Kendrick Lamar, because we weren't sure necessarily if To Pimp a Butterfly was a one-off album, but with this coming the year later, we really understood that this is who Kendrick Lamar is as an artist, and this is what we can expect from him. So I feel like this album was very necessary for that reason. Obviously, as Kendrick Lamar, so we got all the usual stuff, we got amazing sort of sampled beats and really trippy kind of beats with his incredible lyric flow over the top of it as well. For me, the only thing I take issue with this album is that you could sort of tell that it was just throwaway songs that he hadn't used for To Pimp a Butterfly. So that's the only issue I take with it, is that none of the songs really had the same energy to them or the same feel. They were all completely different in every way. But anyway, it's Kendrick Lamar, so how could you not love it? So coming in at number 9 was Untitled Unmastered by Kendrick Lamar, and my standalone track off this album was Untitled 2, also known as the single Levitate. Alright guys, so this one might cause a bit of controversy as to where I've put it, but coming in at number 8, I have Coloring Book by Chance the Rapper. And I know what you're thinking, but this album falling at this place has nothing to do with Chance the Rapper, it has to do with me. For some reason, there was something about this album that I just didn't really want to listen to it over and over again like I have most albums. And I don't really think that was anything to do with Chance the Rapper necessarily, like it was his fault, because I really enjoyed it, you know? It had everything we expected from Chance the Rapper, but in a new style. So we had the same old like choir and harmonizing beats of the church feel to it that Chance the Rapper carries with him, but then he mixed that up with a few trap artists in there and a few trap beats such as like Future and Young Thug and people like that. And Chance the Rapper was incredible on this album as well. This album was necessary because it's further solidified him up there on one of the top spots amongst the rest of these rappers, which really is where he deserves to be. But I feel like before this album he wasn't necessarily getting the credit he deserves. But nevertheless, coming in at number 8 is Chance the Rapper with Coloring Book, and my standout tracks off this album were both Mixtape and All Night. Alright guys, and coming in at the number 7 spot we have Konnichiwa by Skepta, and this was the album that made the most waves for Skepta, really sort of pushing him out there into the wide media view. The production on it was everything that we know from a grime artist and everything that we enjoy from grime artists, of like the fast beats, the fast like heavy rough drum noises and everything. His lyrics he delivered in spectacular Skepta fashion, with the sense that, you know, it was fast and in time with the beat and he was going at a much higher level, but at the same time he was throwing in his sort of spiritual influences in there, because Skepta's quite a spiritual guy, so he likes to throw some of that in there as well. But yeah, if I had to pick something negative about this album, it would also be something that could be considered as a positive, which is that every song pretty much sounded the same. They all followed the same beat pattern and the same lyrics pattern. But nevertheless, I loved this album. So at number 7 we had Konnichiwa by Skepta, and my standout track off this album was Man, also known as Gang, the first single to be released off the album. Alright guys, so at number 6 we had Views by Drake. Now, I liked this album the first few times I listened to it, but it got to a point where I just couldn't listen to this album anymore. One, that was because of mass radio play and all the songs got really hyped up. But 2, there was something about him on this album that I didn't really like. Some songs had a playback factor to it, but then some songs didn't as well. But when you listen to the album as a whole, you know, you could really get the feel to it and get the energy from it if it was supposed to be going backwards and forwards between winter and summer. Both of the production and the lyrics is what Drake does well and what we expect from him, so I can't knock any of that. I did enjoy his lyrics and the beats to this album. And I don't want to sound like I'm slating it too hard, because I did really enjoy this album. It's just with his albums in the past, I was expecting more, and with how long views had been hyped up for, I was putting it on a higher pedestal than it actually ended up being on. I would have liked to have seen more features on it as well, because Drake does that really well, working with other artists, but for the most part, we only had features from like Rihanna and like Party Next Door, people like that, the people that we expected. But anyway, at number 6 was Drake with Views, and my standout tracks of this album was Still Here and also Pop Style. Alright guys, so we have now made it to the top 5, and coming in at the number 5 slot is The Life of Pablo by Kanye West. Now, as some of you may know, I am a very big Kanye West fan, and I was a huge fan of this album because for me, this album carried a little bit of every previous Kanye West album with it. You know, we had some of the sort of flow style as things on like College Dropout and Graduation, but then it had the same sort of beat patterns as things like 808s and Heartbreaks and Yeezus and all these other albums like that. The production on this album was obviously insane because that is one of the things that Kanye West does best, is his sampling of other beats, and you know, he just spends crazy amount of hours planning the production, him and people on his team like Mike Dean, and he's worked with like Metro Boomin on this album as well. They must have put so much thought into the way this album is produced, and it really comes across. The lyric patterns from Kanye West are what we sort of come to expect from this sort of era of Kanye West now, where yeah, he can get down and can do these really great lyrics and this great flow and this great verse, but then at the same time, sometimes it's just like borderline basic lyrics. And things like Famous. I really enjoyed the song Famous, but he didn't really go for it that much with his lyrics. You know, if it was any other rapper, he probably wouldn't have gotten away with it. So coming in at number 5, it was The Life of Pablo, and my standout tracks off this album were both No More Parties in LA and Facts, the Charlie Heat version. Alright then guys, and now coming in at number 4, we have Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight by Travis Scott. Travis Scott has definitely hit a three-peat with these albums, going from Day Before Rodeo to then Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight. However, I feel like on this new one is when Travis Scott fully understood the blueprints for him to make an incredible album, because that's exactly what he's done here. He knows his style, every song belonged on the album and felt like a Travis Scott song. Travis Scott's performance are great as well. He finds a perfect balance between this sort of trippy, borderline mumble rapping, while also mixing it in with some incredible bars and some incredible verses throughout the entire album. It's a really good mix, and it's something that Travis Scott does extremely well. This album also had a lot of great features. We finally got the link up between Kid Cudi and Travis Scott for the first time on Through the Late Night. That was incredible. Kendrick Lamar came in with an amazing feature on Goosebumps as well. For me, this was a really great album, and it was definitely Travis Scott's best album yet. So yeah, like I said, coming in at number 4, we have Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight by Travis Scott, and my favourite tracks off this album were Goosebumps as well as Through the Late Night. Okay guys, so coming in at the number 3 spot, we have For Your Eyes Only by J. Cole. So this album, For Your Eyes Only, follows this chronological story of a guy not knowing if he wants to stay alive and not knowing what he's doing with his life. So then he finds a girl and he falls in love with that girl. So then he's happy being in love with that girl. Then he has a daughter with said girl. Yet he's still finding himself trapped in this system of he goes to prison, can't find a job when he comes out of prison, needs to feed his family, steals, and then goes back to prison. And it keeps following that path for him. And then at the end of the album, he dies. But it's only at the end of the album that we realise that it's actually 2 stories, both J. Cole's best friend and J. Cole's, and they both follow the same path. However, J. Cole managed to make it out of that situation, whereas his friend didn't, and his friend is the one that died. So the whole album then ties together as one big story that J. Cole is telling to his friend's daughter. It's a huge, huge mindfuck, but at the end you realise what the album's about, and that's what makes it one of the best albums to come out this entire year, because there was nothing else this year that was as deep as a message as this one was. But yeah, despite the crazy story that this album carried with it, the production on it was incredible. Everything I expect from J. Cole. It was a mix of samples, but also you had some like real hard 808 beats in there mixed in with some of the trumpet sounds. His lyrics on here were incredible as well, because he's got a really good mix of both lyrics that will make you hyped up and everything, while also expressing what it is that he finds of not wanting to be famous and having problems with society and everything. He's really good at having both of those mixed into the same songs. But I can't find a single negative thing to say about this album. I loved it from beginning to end. So coming in at number 3, it was For Your Eyes Only by J. Cole, and my standout track off this album were both Deja Vu and Neighbours. So coming in at my number 2 spot is Blank Face by Schoolboy Q. So Schoolboy Q is another artist that definitely understands the blueprints of how to make an album that works for him. He knows exactly what he's doing at every step of the way. Obviously, because he's from Los Angeles and grew up in the 90s in Compton and understands this sort of rough background, he's got a lot of references in there about drugs and about violence and everything, all things that he's had to grow up with. But also musically, growing up in that era, you can hear a lot of 90s influences in his beats. You know, they're quite jazzy, quite soulful. A lot of the time he'll cut to like a female singer on the chorus or something rather than himself singing the chorus. Like I said, the production on here is amazing. It all fits into that 90s style while also bringing some of the fat and more sort of like bassy sounds that we expect in 2016. Same with his lyric pattern of it wasn't all the way through talking about what it is that he knows about selling drugs and violence and everything. It wasn't just that. He also mixed it with some healthy lyrics about trying to make it being famous, some stuff that he has to deal with now, lyrics about his daughter, lyrics about his family, lyrics about love. It was all of this stuff thrown together, which was really healthy and just felt very natural to hear. But like I said, the main thing to me that I loved about this album was the mix of lyrics and beats and the fact that it would go from somebody else singing the chorus to him rapping. It just all blended together so well, but it wasn't necessarily one specific thing, you know, it was all these things that were different blended together just in spectacular fashion. So at number 2 we have Blank Face by Schoolboy Q, and my standout tracks off this album are John Muir and By Any Means. Okay guys, so coming in at the number 1 spot of my favourite album of all of 2016 is Malibu by Anderson.Paac. I only picked up Anderson.Paac this year, I only discovered him this year, and I just randomly went, let's listen to this album, and I am so extremely happy that I did. This is the only album this entire year that I look at and there isn't a single song on there that I don't like or skip over. I'm obsessed with Anderson.Paac's delivery on this album. He's got quite a sort of soulful, jazzy little voice, but he can also rap at the same time, so he does both of those two things. There's a lot of songs that are just him singing, while also songs of him like getting down and rapping. This whole album follows the style of Malibu, so the beats really reflect that as well. It's quite like positive, you imagine it to be like a happy summery vibe to the whole album, which is sort of in relation to Malibu, so he definitely delivered on bringing a whole feel to the album. You can do either with this album. You can either put it on shuffle and just listen to it in the background, or you can listen to it from beginning to end and all the songs fit together and make sense. But yeah, like I said, my number 1 album to come out in all of 2016 is Malibu by Anderson.Paac, and I don't have any standout tracks from this album because the whole album is a standout track to me. Every single song is amazing. I can't really pick a favourite. Okay guys, so let me know down in the comments what your favourite album to come out this year was, whether you agree or disagree with anything that I've said in this video. Thank you very much for watching. That was my top 10 albums to come out in 2016. If you have enjoyed this video, all I ask is that you at least consider subscribing, watch a couple of my other videos. If you like what you see, subscribing would really be a big help. As always, my name is Joe Lux. Thank you very much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.